participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers. All
right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Monday. I hope everyone's doing well out there. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. And we are back at it, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's right. We are back at it. A lot to get to, a lot to go over today. Caroline Leavitt just spoke. We will cover that a little bit later on in the program. Obviously, Ukraine with these strikes that were very successful. I think at a minimum, I think you could say extremely successful. We will certainly get into that. As I adjust my hat, yes, a new hat, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry, I'll go back to the black hat probably tomorrow. Other than that, Medicaid cuts on a lot of people's mind as well. Mike Johnson was caught in a huge double standard over the weekend. So, man, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to get into. And I figured what better person to run down what took place over the weekend. There's a lot to dissect than my friend JoJo from Jers, Joanna Carducci. It's always a pleasure, Joanna, seeing you again. Thank you so much for joining us after a very busy weekend. How are you doing?
Hey, my friend. I am keeping my head above water. How are you doing?
Same. I'm keeping my head. I can't swim, so I have to keep my head above water. But anyway.
Oh, really? You really can't?
Crazy, right? I know. Nobody ever taught me how to swim. So if I'm ever, on the Titanic, I'm done. But good to see you. I wanted to start off by asking you about Gay Pride Month, obviously yesterday being the first day. And we're learning that the Trump administration is refusing to even recognize it when 7% of the population is gay at a minimum in this country. I'm wondering what you make of that.
I mean, it's very on brand, right? I mean, this is like who they are. They're constantly saying the quiet part out loud, and they don't care. They don't care if they are supposed to be serving all Americans. They are going to pick and choose who they want to serve, and that includes people who voted for them, because there are members of the LGBTQ plus community who voted for Donald Trump, who have voted for Republicans, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care about anybody other than himself, his billionaire donors, his billionaire buddies, and anybody else that props him up. That's it, period, the end. And by the way, Rich Grinnell is gay, and he is serving Donald Trump and has done so loyally for a very long time. So you have to ask yourself, like, why? Why isn't this offensive to you?
Do you remember, JoJo, when Barack Obama, they lit up the White House with gay pride colors and the right just had a hissy fit? They couldn't get over it. They were so upset. They were so angry by it. And now Trump's not even recognizing Gay Pride Month. It's just like they want to get rid of Martin Luther King Day. They want to get rid of Black awareness, and it's the same thing here. If there was a white supremacist month, Donald Trump would be the first person probably to be standing up and saluting White Supremacist Month.
We'll give it a little bit of time. He'll probably rename like Transgender Awareness Day, White Cisgendered Dude Day, because he's also renaming Veterans Day. And I don't know if you knew that, but he's trying to anyway, rename that Victory in World War I Day or something like that, as if those are the only veterans that matter, which no offense to anyone's service, but there's lots of veterans in lots of conflicts and people who, served in peacetime as well. So it's just, it's absolutely bizarre. The naming things is a distraction and the unnaming things and non-naming things is a distraction from the actual terrible things that he is really doing, which are included in this 1,000-page plus billionaire boner bill, because it's those are the bees that really belong to it. I hope I can say that on here.
Yeah, that was actually very funny. Actually, I never heard that one. That's actually good. Let's talk a little bit about this horrific terrorist attack that appears took place in Colorado, right? Attacking those in the Jewish community. But here's something very interesting. So a lot of MAGA Republicans are saying, how did Joe Biden let this guy into the country? But when you do a little bit of research, JoJo, you see that his visa expired in March. Can't one make the argument, why did Trump allow him to stay here? They're blaming Joe Biden for why he got in, but his visa expired under Donald Trump, but you'll never hear MAGA Republicans talk about that.
Yeah, and I think, again, when we're looking to lay blame here, this is a tragedy. Absolutely no mistake about it. I mean, these were peaceful assembly. This is a peaceful assembly. They were not protesting. They were, marching on behalf of the hostages in Gaza. If there's any blame to go around here, it's for the fact that Donald Trump has not diffused any of what's going on over there. Quite to the contrary, they poured gasoline on an already raging fire by saying essentially they want to remove every Palestinian from Gaza and just displace them if they don't just wipe them out entirely. And it's only to keep stoking an already blazing fire. And this kind of thing is only going to continue to happen. And I'm tired of Donald Trump at all trying to gaslight the American people into thinking he gives a crap about anti-Semitism when he does not. I mean, this is anti-Semitic 1,000%, and we must call it what it was. It was an act of terror. But this is a person who pardoned the Camp Auschwitz t-shirt wearer guy. This is the guy who broke bread with Nick Fuentes. This is the guy who traffics and surrounds himself with notoriously anti-Semitic people. But you need to blame anyone. But let's talk about the fact that Donald Trump has done nothing but inflame this already raging fire. And something is inevitable. It's going to continue to break. And by the way, in this big billionaire boner bill, they are defunding some of the security for synagogues and mosques. That is something that we can't sleep on, because he's going to say, "Oh, this is unacceptable. Hate has no place in this country," as a false flag, when at the same time he's making those places much more vulnerable to these exact kinds of attacks.
And I'm going to keep calling it the big boner bill, by the way. I'm going to steal that from you if that's okay.
Billionaire is that's a big part of the B, because that's who it's for.
Yes, I agree with you. What do you make of somebody like a Mike Johnson? And I'm going to play the audio a little bit later on in the show, where he's basically making the case that this lowers our deficit instead of increasing the deficit by, I think, $5 to $6 trillion over the next 1 to 2 years or so. Yet they want to say they're not taking money away from Medicaid, which clearly they are. They're cutting Medicaid. We all know this. And even people that are bipartisan, people that are both sides of the aisle, all agree that this bill right here is going to get us more into debt. And then what's the deal with Doge? I mean, they were all talking about conserving, right? And wasteful spending. Yet this bill gets us $5-6 trillion more in debt. It makes no sense to me, JoJo.
Well, and don't forget that this is Donald Trump, who's added the largest number in terms of debt to our economy in our country's history. This is Donald Trump, who's already has that legacy, and that doesn't even include the pandemic. So Mike Johnson is going to piss down your back and tell you it's raining. He's lying. Carolyn Levitt went out today and said it cut the deficit. She's lying. It's Orwellian. Are you going to believe them or your own lying eyes and ears? They're now saying the CBO score is wrong. What is it, the deep state CBO? They're lying to the American people, but they're also lying to members of Congress, well, not so much the House because they've already passed it. They're telling Josh Hawley, who's promised today, that there will be no cuts to Medicaid. That's what they're saying, and these are lies. And the problem is if you go along with it, at the end of the day, the people who are going to feel it are going to know that they were lying to them, and it's going to be too late.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Ukraine. As you know, Donald Trump told Zelensky, you don't have the cards to play. And then we look at this military attack, probably one of the most notable military successes in the history of Ukraine. This operation took 18 months to prepare. It was to perfection, A+. And they also, and this is the best part of it, besides that it was so successful, that they did everything they could to limit innocent casualties losing their lives, where we know Vladimir Putin does the absolute opposite. And then Caroline Levitt's asked about this attack today, and instead of praising it, because the good people of Ukraine are trying to defend themselves, she goes, well, we want this war to end, and, both sides, we hear. What do you make of this and Donald Trump egging his face once again, because it appears as though, based on this attack, the cards are in play for Zelensky, and it was perfectly executed?
We'll never, ever, ever underestimate the resilience and the wherewithal of the Ukrainian people. Never underestimate the 4D chess playing of Vladimir Zelensky, because don't this is massive. This is going to be in history books, but don't forget that he also played Donald Trump masterfully when he went to the Oval Office and refused to bend the knee, refused to comply and obey in advance, refused to say thank you, as JD Vance said. And then he isolated him at the Vatican, if you remember that, and he had a one-on-one with him. And that's how you play Donald Trump. Sorry, my kids are just getting home from getting back from school. I'm so blown away and proud and impressed by their sheer will. And the fact that they didn't share this information with this White House makes perfect sense to me. But I'll tell you what I'm tired of. I'm tired of I will end this war on day one, Donald Trump giving Vladimir Putin all the rope in all the world, even his own party. Chuck Grassley, the dinosaur of dinosaurs, is, dear Mr. President, can't you do something to stop Vladimir Putin? He's not imposing additional sanctions. He's not making Russia pay for bombing children and hospitals and the elderly and innocent civilians. There is no both sides to this. There is one way to end this war, and it's to tell the invader to stop invading and go back home. And what we've now seen is that, Zelensky does have a lot of cards, and he does not need the United States to play them. He's going to be able to pull off massive wins like this without our help. And then we're going to be on the outside looking in, the isolated party standing alone. And how does that benefit us? How does that protect us? It doesn't. That's the point.
You know, Jojo, it's interesting because you get a lot of people on the right that want to talk about the Constitution every day, and we have to uphold the Constitution. Yet there are people in this country, as you know, that are not getting due process. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's pretty simple. In our Constitution, it says any person. It doesn't say any undocumented or documented person. It says any person has the right to due process. Yet you hear MAGA Republicans day in and day out curling themselves into a pretzel, trying to make the case that the Constitution says what it doesn't say. It makes no sense to me.
Well, they'll do that with the pretzeling, to your point. They'll do that with everything. I mean, it's cognitive dissonance. They cannot convince themselves that what they believe is foundationally untrue. So these are, constitutionalists and strict adherents and federalists who are like, well, I mean, just because you said maybe we have to suspend habeas corpus, maybe if we look at it a certain way, maybe he's right, and maybe they do have the grounds for that. And whatever kind of pretzel it takes. Remember, these are the people for whom the price of eggs was disqualifying. But letting your kids starve and letting your family go without access to health care is just, well, you know what? We're all going to die. That's where we're at here. And they're all fine with Joni Ernst saying, well, we're all going to die. They're all fine with Thune saying the best health care is a job. They're just fine with that when the price of eggs was disqualifying to the point where they put someone in office who was going to and didn't bring down the price of groceries.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I can't really think. I think to myself, Jojo, what has he actually done to help the nation? And a lot of MAGA Republicans will say the border, but yet they have no problem with deporting people to an El Salvador prison with no due process. And then when the Supreme Court rules 9-0 with Mr. Garcia, completely will not abide by his own Supreme Court justices. It's wild to me. What has this man done? As you mentioned, he said he was going to end the war in 24 hours before he even got into office. How's that going? Is there peace in the Middle East? Because last I checked, there's no peace going on in the Middle East. Inflation has not lowered. The price of gas is not lowered. The price of eggs is not lowered. Maybe it's lowered in the last month, but not since day one, since he took office. Is there no tax on tips? I don't know. We're in Las Vegas here. Not that I know of. What the hell has this guy done except for cause chaos and cause people so much grief and the economy and so many people losing their jobs? What the hell has this guy done to help the country?
I'm looking for the winning. I'm looking around because every time I post anything about Donald Trump, I get one of the gifts with him doing the double-handed jerkin twist where they're like, there's so much winning, cry harder, lib. I'm like, what am I crying harder over? Your groceries are more expensive. Your daughter is being told that she should go with fewer dollies. There's longshoremen are being let go. There's less stock on the shelves. There's less people to stock them. There's less money in our economy. People are staying home. They're not spending money because they're afraid. You're about to lose health care. You're about to lose SNAP benefits. There's no FEMA. There's no NOAA. There's no NIH. Kids are dying from measles and preventable diseases. They've defunded childhood cancer research. And by the way, there's some statistics that we've already killed 30,000 people around the globe because of defunding USAID. Where is the winning? I would like to know because I'm looking around and I don't see any winning. And by the way, if the winning is at the border, Barack Obama deported more people than Donald Trump has. What they're doing now to pad their numbers is showing up in courthouses where people are doing their due diligence to make sure they dot their I's and cross their T's and they're being arrested. There's a high school student in New York City who went in to do the things he's supposed to do, no criminal record whatsoever, supported his family. And where is he? Sitting in an ICE detention center because he got apprehended by going while going to court to do the right thing. So where's the winning, my friend? I'm dumbfounded. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that story. And I don't know if you heard the story about the mother who was breastfeeding her 1-year-old daughter, didn't get due process. She was deported. And then the daughter had medical issues and had to go to the hospital. No, these people aren't getting any due process. This isn't the country that I recognize. And I guess that's my last question for you, JoJo. Growing up, I just don't recognize this country now. I don't know what country we are living in where human beings are being treated like animals. I don't want bad people in this country no more than you don't or anybody else, but that doesn't mean people don't have the right to due process. I don't recognize this country anymore, and I feel like it's make America white again, not make America great again. And I'm starting to get scared. And I think I didn't think it was going to be this bad, and I guess that's my fault. Maybe I was a little naive. I said, okay, it's going to be a rough 4 years. We'll all get through it, JoJo. But I didn't think it'd be this bad. And he's literally implemented Project 2025, and I don't know where we're going to be at in 6 months from now or a year from now, but I truly am scared, and I don't know if you feel the same way.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is terrifying. And as a mom, this is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. But this didn't happen overnight. This has been the long game. His first reality show was the test case, and he knew how to get around, the grown-ups in the room. And what we're seeing now is a precipitous slide into authoritarianism, and the playbook is laid out before us. I mean, there's a reason that you're looking around saying, I don't recognize my country right now. And it's because they've been under sort of this sustained propaganda machine that has helped them dehumanize others in such a way that it is antithetical to who we are as Americans. But the same thing happened in Germany, and it's happened in other countries around the world as well. Our eyes need to be open to this right now. And I'll tell you what gives me hope, which is the American people, actually. I do believe that fundamentally, and maybe I'm naive too, but fundamentally we are better than this. Fundamentally, we do care. Fundamentally, we do want to tap into our humanity. And fundamentally, we don't want to see innocent people shipped off to foreign gulags. I believe the American people believe in democracy. And I believe at the end of the day that when we rise up and use our voices collectively to speak out and stand up against this, that we will reclaim our power. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to take the work of a very long time and a lot of people, but I have a lot of faith in it. And it keeps me from not just, throwing my arms up in despair.
Thank God we got people like you out there, JoJo. We need more people like you out there. Before you go, can you give out the information? You do a great podcast and such a huge platform, and you do such a great job in using that platform. How can people follow you? How can people follow your podcast and get more involved with what you're doing?
Well, thank you. I actually just launched a new podcast. This one's called Sanish with Joe Carducci. It's a new one. I'm using my name, which is the real name. So Sanish with Joe Carducci. You can look for new episodes of that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I also have Over It. That's live every Wednesday and Saturday with Tara Setmayer, Julie Roginski, and Michelle Kinney. And of course, my Substack, which is my baby. That is Are You Effing Kidding Me on Substack. That's today I really went hard on getting the Democrats to go on offense and leaning into taco and weird and couch water. And I think that offense, without staying too long in the muck, but being on offense puts them back on their heels, and it gets them off their game, and it gives us a chance to set the narrative. And that's what we need to do.
I'll tell you what, Julie just did the show last week. Tara Setmeyer's the best. You talk about three very powerful, intelligent women that are on the right side of history. That's a podcast I'll listen to. I appreciate what you do, JoJo. You're the best. Thank you so much, as always, for coming on, and have a great week, okay?
And look, Ma, no swears.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If I wasn't on the radio, I have a foul mouth as well. So there's something wrong with that. JoJo, I love you. Thanks so much for coming on. Good to see you. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. There you go, everybody. JoJo from Jurors, Joanna Carducci. She's the best. God, she's so awesome. I hope, and I know she'll continue to go strong and keep doing what she's doing. It's a large platform. She's very intelligent, strong woman, and always appreciate it when she takes the time to join us. And we appreciate her. Just a programming note for you, by the way. Tomorrow on the show, world-renowned economist Justin Wolfers is going to be joining us back on the show. I've been asked to have him back on. He's going to join us tomorrow because, as you know, the Trump administration is bragging about these tariffs, but we're actually going to get some real information on how these tariffs are destroying our economy. So Justin's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. If memory serves me right, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have Ron Filipowski that's going to be joining us on the show. Yep. Actually, I'm just reading my text right now. Mr. Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch will be joining us on the show tomorrow, too. So two great guests tomorrow, Justin Wolfers and Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch. So that is going going to be great. We're working on our audio issues. I don't know what is going on with the microphone, but we're working on it. So my apologies for that. So anyway, those are the guests that are going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. So, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in the program, Ukraine put in an operation that took somewhere around 18 months to prepare. Scores of small drones were smuggled into Russia, and they were stored in special compartments aboard freight trucks. They were driven to at least 4 separate locations, thousands of miles apart, and they were launched remotely towards nearby air bases. Ukraine also went out of their way to not take innocent civilians along with it. So, this was a success, monumental success, and I think you can call it one of the biggest military successes in Ukraine's history. So apparently they do have the cards, but this is what Donald Trump had to say back on February 28th when he met with Vladimir Zelensky. Have a listen to this.
Of the war. You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Those were the statements that Donald Trump made back in February. Well, that doesn't really ring true to what took place over the weekend, does it? Because Trump jumped the shark and posted that Biden was a big part of the reason why this war took place. And then when the war continues under Donald Trump, he says Zelensky doesn't have the cards. Well, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. This was monumental for Ukraine. And while all this stuff happened, I don't know if you heard about this, but Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social that Joe Biden was executed and cloned back in 2020. Folks, I wish I was making this up. I'm not. This is the President of the United States. That's right. He said he was executed and cloned back in 2020. The 25th Amendment would seem to be mandatory. And when the GOP guests are asked about this, whether Biden was cloned and executed, obviously they just laugh it off and they don't take it seriously. This is crazy, and we cannot normalize how crazy this man is. I want you to think about that for a moment, and I want you to think if Joe Biden did something like this, just for a moment. Think if Joe Biden went on X or any form of social media and claimed that Donald Trump was executed and cloned. Now, you'd probably call him crazy, rightfully so. That's what Donald Trump did, but it's so normalized that many members of the media are not even covering this. They still want to talk about Joe Biden's health in decline. They want to talk about the cover-up, an alleged cover-up, and Jill Biden, and she has to testify under oath. Again, the current president of the United States is posting that a former president was executed and cloned back in 2020. Again, you could look this up if you don't believe me. This is really serious stuff. It's crazy, and it's nuts. And again, Republicans continue to lie to America when it comes to Medicaid cuts. It's in this big boner bill, as JoJo from Jersey described it. Republicans are going to be cutting Medicaid up to 66% in some states that it is allocated. These are blatant lies. And when you hear them talk about this, again, they say no one will lose coverage as a result of this bill. This is a blatantly lying on CNN. Have a listen to this.
The other reason why we're seeing some pushback is because of the Medicaid cuts that were passed by the House and that are going to go into the Senate. There was a town hall, which I'm sure you saw. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst was asked, it was pretty raucous, about the Medicaid cuts, and she responded by saying people were saying that people were going to die, and she said, we're all going to die. But the question that she was getting were from constituents were concerns about Medicaid, food stamps, and other government support programs leading to people dying and premature deaths. What do you say to those concerns?
I think they're totally ridiculous. This is AstroTurf. This bill will preserve and protect the programs, the social safety net, but it will make it much more common sense. Look, one out of every $5 or $6 in Medicaid is improper. We have illegal immigrants on the program. We have able-bodied working adults that don't have a work requirement that they would have in TANF or even SNAP. And those are something that's very important to institute. That's what this bill does. No one will lose coverage as a result of this bill.
That's not what Josh Hawley, who is not exactly a liberal Democrat, said. He said it's wrong to cut health care for the working poor, and that's what we're talking about here with Medicaid.
Well, we continue to work with people in the Senate as to working them through the specifics of the bill, what it does and what it doesn't do. We'll continue to do that, and I think at the end of the day, the Senate will have a resounding vote in favor of a substantially similar bill.
All right, so there you go. Another blatant lie. You have somebody like Josh Hawley. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Josh Hawley, who says, yes, there are going to be cuts to Medicaid, yet you have this guy in the Trump administration saying the opposite. So who's lying here? Well, I can tell you for once, maybe Josh Hawley's telling the truth. We know that there are going to be major cuts to Medicaid if this bill does pass. We know that. That's 100%. Are Americans that stupid that they believe the Trump administration? This was their plan all along. And then you have Mark Wayne Mullen, who I guess is allowed to lie on CNBC, claiming that Republicans aren't cutting Medicaid benefits. Yes, they are. Have a listen to what Mark Wayne Mullen had to say.
You know, Medicaid, though, there's a lot of confusion that the Democrats have lied about. They went out there, Joe, and said that, you know, we're cutting Medicaid benefits. We're not cutting Medicaid benefits.
No one believes that. Senator, no one serious believes that.
Senator, how much do you focus on what might be described as the bond vigilantes? This idea that the bond market is a little nervous, maybe a lot nervous, about what this bill may do to the long-run fiscal situation and economic situation in the country longer term.
Well, speculation is what always drives a market. We know this. And in fact, I think the bond market is going to respond well once this bill is passed because it brings certainty, right?
Yeah, it brings certainty. So there's Mark Wayne Mullen literally lying to the American people. Another lie. Members of the Trump administration saying that, no, we're not cutting Medicare. We're not cutting cancer research. What are you guys talking about? Where are you seeing this stuff? You're the fake news. That's what Donald Trump says. And then his cronies go along with it. But make no mistake about it. They are cutting Medicaid. It is in this big, beautiful boner bill, as JoJo says. And it's why there are some Republicans that are not going to be voting for this bill. And then there's Mike Johnson, who was literally caught in a double standard, talking about the CBO. You see, because people like Mike Johnson were crying to high heaven when Joe Biden was president. But now all of a sudden, Donald Trump is president, and no, you can't go by what the CBO says. Have a listen to this.
In 2017, actually, the CBO was pretty right when you adjusted for inflation. But let me read you something that you said back in 2021 about the CBO. This was in relation to a Democratic bill. You said the CBO has confirmed this bill adds nearly $400 billion to the deficit, contrary to the White House's claim that the bill is paid for. So do you only believe the CBO when a Democrat is president, Mr. Speaker?
No, this is very easy to explain. The CBO sometimes gets projections correct, but they're always off every single time when they project economic growth. They always underestimate the growth that will be brought about by tax cuts and reduction in regulations.
So you have Mike Johnson, who only talks about the CBO if it fits his narrative when Joe Biden is president. But when it doesn't fit his narrative, then they lose credibility. Again, more lies. You heard lies from Vaught, who was on CNN, lying about cutting Medicaid. You heard lies from Mark Wayne Mullen, and now you're hearing lies from Mike Johnson. And again, Caroline the Liar Levitt earlier today. Everything they do in this administration is full of BS and lies. And here's a moment where Stephanopoulos is asking Hassett about these deals. We were told 90 deals in 90 days. Remember when we were told that? Yes, we were told that 90 deals in 90 days. Where are all the deals? Why have they not been done? And now you have Hassett saying, well, there was supposed to be a deal last week. So now we're going back instead of saying, well, give us another week or two. Some more deals will be made. Hassett is moving backwards. Well, we expected a deal last week. Again, I'm going to play the audio for you. I'm not making this stuff up. It is unbelievable. Have a listen to this.
We showed at the top of this piece you talking about how you believe we're on the brink of getting many of these trade negotiations secure. Where are we exactly? When will we see an actual agreement? Will we see any this week?
I expected that we were going to probably see one perhaps as early as last week. And I think that one of the things that's happened is that the trade team has been focused 100% like a laser beam on the China matter to make sure that there are no supply disruptions because these licenses are coming a little slower than we would like. And so we've been focused like a laser beam on that last week. And the presidents, we expect, will discuss the matter this week. Once that thing's resolved, then we're going to take deals into the Oval that Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick have negotiated.
Wait, what? Come again? Did I just hear that right? Or am I hearing things? Did he just say that deals should be made last week? So they've gone from, we should have a deal made next week, we should have a deal made in 2 weeks, to we should have a deal made last week. I didn't mishear that. That's exactly what he said. Again, they're the ones that said we're going to have 90 deals in 90 days. They're the ones who said that. Guys like Navarro and other people in Donald Trump's administration, they're the ones who were making these kinds of promises. Where are the deals? Remember Donald Trump said, they're kissing my ass? They're all kissing my ass? He said that. Do you remember? It's incredible to me. But why do you guys believe it? Why do you buy into it? What does it take for all of you to realize that nothing this administration promises and nothing that they say comes to fruition unless they want to pardon a bunch of January 6th insurrectionists that beat the hell out of police officers? What promises have they kept? They have not upheld the Constitution. They have defied the Supreme Court. They defy court judges. They have not lowered the cost of inflation. They have not lowered the cost of gas prices or eggs. They have not lowered your taxes. They continue to give tax breaks to the top 1%. They have not made this country safer, regardless of what you might think. Per capita, you have the better chance of being the victim of a crime from an American citizen than you do somebody who's an undocumented immigrant. How has Donald Trump made your life better? We can go back when he was president for 4 years, at the end of his term, when we were all locked up in our rooms and we weren't working, and the entire economy was shut down and the country was shut down. But let's focus on right now. How has he made your life better? What has he done? Ask yourself that question. And then on the other side of the break, I want to hear from you, and I want to know whether you're a Trump supporter or not. Has Donald Trump made your life easier or harder? Tell me. In your own words, are you happy with what's going on in this country right now? What do you make of what took place in Ukraine? Donald Trump said they didn't have the cards to play. Well, it turns out he was wrong about that, wasn't he? Very successful strike by Ukraine over the weekend, and they went out of their way to not kill innocent civilians. While Vladimir Putin does the opposite. Why hasn't Donald Trump talked? Why hasn't he talked about these strikes over the weekend? And if he has, it's only been for a few seconds. What is he afraid of? Why is he afraid of Vladimir Putin? Why does he kiss the ring of evil, murderous dictators? I ask you that question as well. So we're asking you about that. Are you afraid that your Medicare is going to be gone? Are you afraid that people that you know are going to be deported from this country with zero due process? Does that bother you? Are you afraid of that? How has Donald Trump made your life better? Number to call, 702-221-7283. Again, that number to call, 702-221-7283. We are also in the YouTube chat where your questions and comments will be heard. And the website, of course, which is pushingthelimits.live as well, where we sell beanies, you name it, hats, mugs, you name it. We run an independently owned radio show here. We appreciate your support, whatever you can do to help. We certainly appreciate you. This is the most interactive show you will find. It's why we always open up the phone lines every single day, and it is your time to ask questions and vent, and MAGA callers are always welcome. Do you like where the country is headed right now? Are you afraid you're going to lose your medical benefits? Are you afraid you're going to lose your job? Or are you happy with what Donald Trump has done? Maybe you're happy, and you can tell me what Donald Trump has done to help you. Again, that number to call, 702-221-7283. We'll be back in 90 seconds, and your calls are next. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Preview Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you could be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. And we appreciate JoJo from Jers, Joanna Carducci, joining us in the first segment. So there's a lot to get to today and a lot that we are discussing, including a very successful military strike, very notable what Ukraine was able to accomplish. This was 18 months to prepare, we are learning. And they smuggled these small drones somehow. I'm not an expert when it comes to this stuff, but it was A+, the way they were able to do it, and limiting innocent casualties, something that Vladimir Putin, as we know, does not go out of his way to do. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about his own people. He doesn't care about innocent children, mothers and children. We know that for sure. What's your name? So we're certainly talking about that. And, of course, Donald Trump isn't praising Ukraine. Of course, Donald Trump is saying, well, we need to end the war, and, you know, Ukraine doesn't want peace. It's absolute nonsense, and it's a joke. And then you have more Republicans over the weekend that are lying, that are denying the fact that this big, beautiful bill will be cutting large cuts to Medicaid. people are going to lose their lives. Make no mistake about it. They've also will be cutting cancer research. But you see, they'll make a hissy fit over Democrats that don't stand up during the State of the Union. But yet, when it comes to cutting spending for children's cancer research, somehow MAGA Republicans don't want to talk about that, but they're very upset if Elizabeth Warren doesn't stand up and, during that time. Number to call, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Kim. Hey, Kim, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, I'm coming back from Friday about the Medicaid.
Yes.
I started throwing a bunch of numbers and stuff out at you, and you told me to call you back.
Yes.
So my biggest beef right now is, I don't know if anybody's read the bill, but I have read the bill. I've spoken to you before. My son is on Medicaid. He's actually listening to the show now. And this affects him among other people. So how the cuts are going to work. First of all, you cannot get Medicaid or SNAP if you are not legally documented. It is impossible. Even someone with a green card must wait 5 years unless they get a specific waiver in order to apply for Medicaid benefits. So this BS that MAGA is throwing out there, that the cuts are only going to be getting rid of illegals on Medicaid. There are no illegals on Medicaid. Now, in order to qualify for Medicaid, most states, as I said before, 40 out of 50 states, the poverty level is 138%, which means $1,800 a month before taxes, which is about $11.25 an hour if you're working a job. 40% of people on Medicaid work a full-time job. The rest are seniors, disabled, and veterans. Very, very few do not have a job. And there are work requirements on Medicaid. Now, I understand that they want to increase those work requirements, which is going to make it very difficult. So right now, you can make, as a single person, $21,000 a year, whether it be on Social Security, disability, and qualify for Medicare, or Medicaid, I'm sorry. Now, if you are disabled, you also get, or if you're collecting Social Security, you also are entitled to Medicare. The Medicare premium is $185 a month. People that are qualified under Medicaid do not pay the Medicare premium. So my son, for example, he makes $1,271 a month on Social Security disability.
Yeah.
He has Medicaid, and he does not pay his Medicare $185 a month. I myself am on disability. I make more, so I pay my Medicare, and I pay for a rider to pay the other part of the insurance that's not covered by Medicare.
Yeah.
Now, what they're going to do when they're talking about these cuts, the cuts are what they're going to do is lower the poverty level from 138% down closer to 100%. So that means anybody making over $16,300 a year. Now, you tell me out there, folks, who can live on $16,300 a
But
year?
but hold on a second.
Nobody.
This is the playbook for the Trump administration. If you're extremely wealthy, you're going to be very well off. And what Donald Trump does is he takes advantage of the most vulnerable people in society, as you said, those that are poor, those that are living paycheck to paycheck. You could be making $30,000 or $40,000 a year, but you're right. You have to be making under $16,000 a year according to this plan to qualify. That means there are going to be millions of people that are going to lose their benefits in this country. But why is it that so many?
Their benefits,
right?
And somebody say making $16,000, and literally they go to the penny. Say you're making $16,301, you will then pay the Medicare premium of $30 a month, plus copays, plus medical, copays for doctors, hospitals, medication, and if you are on Medicare, you are then required to pay the $185.
You know, I'm at the point now where I want everyone to have the health care that they deserve, but I got to be honest with you. I'm at the point now where if you voted for Donald Trump and you lose your health care benefits, it's almost like you deserve it because you're so stupid. I mean, there's so many people that did not vote for Donald Trump in this country that are going to be losing their medical benefits. And I don't want to hear anybody that voted for Donald Trump complaining. But let me tell you something. Those are the people that should lose their benefits because we all knew that this was going to happen. We talked about it every day, Project 2025. We knew that this was going to happen. We tried to warn you people who voted for Donald Trump, and I don't want to hear these people complain that they lost their benefits. I just don't.
True. I mean, I'm Boo Boo Bear in YouTube. I wanted to say that because there are a couple people in the YouTube chat that just don't seem to get it. They've said they've read the bill, but obviously they have not read the bill.
Right.
I have read the bill.
Right.
And I have gone to Medicaid and spoken to my son's Medicaid workers. And so not only those cuts, mental health is billed separately under Medicaid. Those mental health services will be cut also, and extra services that people get. So I had explained once before, my son gets a program called DDD in New Jersey, which helps him become a productive member of society. People that need home health care, kids that are adults, say, living on their own and get assistance from Medicaid to live on their own with an aid, will be then forced out of that situation into nursing homes.
It's scary, and I appreciate I appreciate your info that you have given out. I really do, because it's very helpful to a lot of people. Unfortunately, it's also very sad. But feel free to call back. But you're 100% correct, and I think it's important for people to realize what Donald Trump is, the damage that he's doing to this country from a policy standpoint. Thank you for the call, my dear. I really do appreciate you. 702-221-SAVE. Again, the number 702-221-7283. Let's go to Chris. Chris is next up on PTL. Hello, Chris. Hi, Chris. Are you there? Did we lose Chris?
Hey, Brian. How's it going? Sorry, my phone was on mute.
That's okay. Go right ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to say, as someone from Iowa, I just want to apologize without really apologize, but just about Joni Ernst. We're all not like her.
Yeah. I don't think you are. I don't think you are.
And, I just I figured I needed to call and say that just to let everyone know. There's not many of us Iowans, but not all of us think like her.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I certainly believe you. I just don't understand, and I say this every day, why so many people in this country would vote against their own self-interest. Because let's be honest, most people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck. Most people in this country, sadly, are struggling. But yet, they still vote for Republicans, and they vote for a guy like Donald Trump, who has more tax breaks for the rich than any president, at least in my lifetime. I don't understand why people vote against their own self-interest other than hatred in their heart or being completely ill-informed. I can't seem to figure it out. I can't understand it.
Well, I've lived in Iowa since I was 16 years old. I'm an Army brat, and when we moved here, I'd never seen racism until I came to Iowa. By the way, it was more racist than I thought it would be. But anyway, I've watched Iowa turn from a purple state into a ruby red state almost. It's just, and I don't know what it was. Watching people, factory workers, that turned from Democrat to Republican because they're following all this propaganda.
Yeah, it's a lot of propaganda.
I don't know what's going on.
You're right. It's a lot of propaganda. And, I want to bring this up again because I think this is important and we can get your thoughts on this. Today's the second day of Gay Pride Month. And when you look at a party, the Republican Party, that is completely anti-gay, they want to get rid of Gay Pride Month altogether. They're against gay marriage. How could you be gay and vote Republican? Now, I'm going to tell you something. I used to work at a radio station where one of the management in that building, huge Trump supporter, openly gay. And I would have conversations with him, and I would say, why would you vote for a party that think you're living your life as a sinner? And he never really gave me an answer. And I said, I don't care how many other policies you might disagree with when it comes to Democrats. You cannot deny the fact that the left support you. The left want you to be who you are. They believe in gay marriage. They believe in equality. They don't believe you're a sinner. It's always the far right that attack people like you. And I could never get a straight answer from him. No pun intended there. Never could get an answer as to why he votes Republican. How could you be gay and be a Republican? I just don't understand it. Being gay and being a Republican is like being black and supporting the Ku Klux Klan. I'm sorry, I'm just going to throw that analogy out there. Am I saying that all Republicans want to lynch gay people? No, that's not what I mean. What I mean by that is most Republicans, they don't want you to be able to marry the same sex. They want to abolish, all things that you seem to enjoy, like Gay Pride Month, what is Gay Pride Month? It's about taking pride in being happy for who you are and celebrating who you are as a human being. Republicans want to take that away from you. Why, if you're gay, would you vote Republican? It makes no sense to me.
Well, and here in Iowa, we were one of the first states to allow gay marriage. And I watched a lot of people. I'm a retired correctional officer, and I watched a lot of gay couples move to this state so they could get married. And then I watched them vote Republican, some of them. And I asked them the same question. I'm like, do you realize you're voting for people that hate you?
Yeah, that's what it is, right?
And they don't give an answer. They get drawn into, gun rights and this and that. I'm like, all right, whatever, man.
Yeah. You know what? It's sickening. I obviously, just like yourself, sir, and I appreciate your call. I really do. Right. Thank you, sir. I support the LGBTQ community. I always have. Plenty of friends of mine happen to be gay. I learn about how these people are discriminated against on a daily basis. Yes, it's getting better, but boy, the hatred from the far right. I mean, these people are so sick that, do you remember all the picketing and the protest outside of Target stores because they sell pro-gay T-shirts and stuff? I mean, these people are just hateful people. They're ignorant, hateful people. These are Republicans. Let me repeat that. Last I checked, I haven't spoken to any Democrats that are anti-gay. I haven't spoken to any Democrats that picket outside of Target. I haven't spoken to any Democrats that are anti-gay marriage. And if there are, there might be very few of them. The overwhelming majority of those in the Democrat Party, like myself, by the way, I'm not even a Democrat, but I want people to live their lives. I want people to be happy who they are. Okay? That's what I want. I want people to live their lives, do the things you want to do so long as it's not against the law, and enjoy life because life is very short. What many MAGA Republicans want is to tell you what to do when it comes to religion and what to believe in. They want you to look up to the orange orangutan. If you're gay, you're a sinner. Go to gay conversion therapy. I mean, Mike Pence talked about that, who might be gay himself, by the way, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel bad for people that are not willing to come out who they are. I find that the people that are most anti-gay are usually people that are ashamed to come out as being gay themselves. And I really feel sorry for those people. I really do. I really do. 702-221-7283, the number to call. 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Brian. Brian is next up on PTL. Hey, Brian, what's going on?
Hello, Brian. Got your loyal listener here from Texas. It's always good to hear from you, buddy. Whenever you come on the air, I'm locked and loaded.
Thank you.
Listen, as a black man, I have the answer to the question that you just asked the previous caller. You can't understand why people would vote against their own interests, would vote against their very livelihoods. I know the answer. And I'm going to tell you and my fellow PTL family what the answer is. The person that's voting against their interests is either racist, sexist, misogynistic, bigoted, or they own a business or think they're rich or, got a little cash flow or whatever and just want the tax breaks.
Sure.
It's one of those reasons. Yep. There is no other reason. And Donald Trump brings out the very worst of these people with his propaganda machine that convinces these people, hey, oh my God, rather let's not focus on your Medicare and your Medicaid and things that's going to make your life better. Let's focus on the 10 trans athletes.
You are so right. I was just going to make that point. Like the Riley Gaines of the world, she's a despicable human being. People like Candace Owens, And basically almost the entire Republican Party today, they focus on banning books. They focus on drag queens. Last I checked, no child was ever shot and killed at a drag queen reading. But yet they don't want to address all the gun violence in this country, and they make claims to make things worse, like more guns make us safer, which we know is not true. They don't want to talk about abortion and maternity leave and the fact they claim that they care so much about women, right? When it comes to abortion, they care so much about women that they want to force teenagers, God forbid, who are raped, to have rape babies. They claim they care so much about women, they want to take their health care benefits away. They don't want to give them maternity leave. They are liars when they claim they care about
control.
Yeah, that they're absolute liars, right? They want to control a woman's body. They want to control the way you think. They want to control what religion you are. They'll make claims like, you're not Jewish, you need to get your head examined if you don't vote for Donald Trump. You're not a true Christian if you don't vote for Donald Trump. Or they'll use phrases like Trump derangement syndrome, for example. Or they'll say that you are woke. Let me tell you something. If woke means that you are aware of your surroundings, then people can call me woke until the cows come home, because the people that call us woke are the people that are ill-informed and uneducated. That's who they are.
It happened to me the other day, Brian. It happened to me the other day. Someone, that supports Hot Wheels down here, our esteemed governor, Greg Abbott, people have signs in their yards that are also MAGA signs, but it says mothers against Greg Abbott, especially after the
Yeah, I heard about that organization, actually. Yeah.
Somebody said, I was having a conversation and somebody said, oh man, I guess you must be one of those TDSers that suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. And then on a whim, I'm talking about with no hesitation, I said, no, you suffer from TFS. You know what that is? Trump fellatio syndrome.
I'm glad I'm rubbing off on you, sir. I am. I'm glad.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud
Have
of
a good day, Brian.
I want to hear more stories from people that tell Trump supporters they suffer from Trump fellatio syndrome. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. All right, let's go to Damon. Damon is, by the way, 702-221-7283. Damon, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Brian?
Not much.
I'm sitting here listening to the lady talk about how her son, we got to go in the facility if this and that in the nursing home. But, Brian, I worked in facilities the last 12 years. I just got out of it last July because it was all corporate owned now. There's I think it might be one facility left in the valley, and this is a retirement destination that's not corporate owned. If they get rid of Medicare, they get rid of Medicaid. My job was to deal with insurance. I don't know if we talked about this before when I was with a patient, JD asked me, but anyway. If they get rid of Medicare and Medicaid, these nursing homes are going to basically empty out. I would say most places want to be a Medicare building, and besides being a Medicare building, that means you want the Medicare patients. Some of them up to 90, 95% of them Medicare, Medicaid patients. And if they dump these people out of these long-term care facilities, is when they have little falls or little things, everything that happens when it comes to geriatrics, they're not going to be able to go to a rehab because all the rehabs are in these corporate-owned facilities. So it's going to be such a domino effect, Brian. If we think we got enough homeless and we feeling sorry for them, now
And
imagine
Damon-
non-ambulatory homeless.
And Damon, it's
People
not
that
even.
really need to be in bed
Yeah.
as homeless.
Damon, it's
People,
not even
most of
just
them have
that.
mental lockdown wards, Brian. We
Yeah.
think we got crazy people on the streets now. Imagine all these crazy people that's on the lockdown ward in these facilities.
It's a good point. But it's not just
There's no
that, Damon. It's also what you're speaking of, but it's also taking away food stamps, right? Any sort of government program that can help a human being. Notice how I say human being. I don't care what the color of your skin is. I know you don't. I don't care where you're from, whether you're Republican or Democrat. Any government program that can help a human being. And it appears as though they're taking away from the most vulnerable people in society. Tax break loopholes for CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. But let's take away Medicaid from people. Let's take away food stamps. They're already talking about taking away food stamps from millions of Americans who are struggling to literally put food on the table. And that's where you're going to make cuts. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's the guy that got us $82 trillion in debt his first go around, and he wants to talk about taking away medical benefits and taking away food stamps and taking away maternity leave and taking away from child cancer research. This is who the Republicans are, whether it's Donald Trump or not. This is who the Republicans are. They have been trying to do this for decades and decades, and sadly, they might become successful with it. And you're right, there's a lot of people that are going to die. There's a lot of people that are going to lose their health care. There's a lot of people that are not going to be able to put food on the table. Now, what happens? Because they always talk about lowering crime in this country and stop and grabs, right? What happens when a father or a family member can't provide food for their kids? They're going to go to the most extreme. You think that's going to make this country safer? Is that going to make America safer again? No, of course it's not. Right, Damon? It's not.
No, it's not. But what's funny, Brian, is about what you were saying about you don't feel sorry about people that lose their benefits. The vast majority of people that follow Donald Trump are geriatrics. The ones that got him voted, the ones that's his base. These are the ones that's going to suffer the most, Brian. So if that's what you want, here it comes. Because if this pass and they get rid of all the things that I know Medicare and Medicaid pays for, Brian, they the ones that's going to suffer. So if that's what you're looking for, which I am too, yeah, they about to suffer. The ones that voted for him, the ones that got him in time and time again.
I think that's a really good point. It's a really good point, Damon, and you're right, and it's good to hear from you. I appreciate your call. We both want the same thing, right? Obviously, we both want everyone to be entitled to the health care that they deserve. Donald Trump and many MAGA Republicans think differently. Let's take their health care benefits away. No, but they'll have benefits. They'll be just fine. It's struggling people in this country that are living paycheck to paycheck, the ones that are going to be suffering the most, and it's sick and it's sad. We're also on day 2 of Gay Pride Month. Why is it that Republicans hate gay people? Listen, I'm going to say this again. And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that disagree with me. I believe if you're gay and you're a member of the Republican Party, it's like being black and being a member of the Ku Klux Klan. I really feel that way. Now, that might be strong language for some of you. And in no way, shape, or form am I necessarily saying that Republicans want to lynch people because they are gay. But think about the way Republicans have treated people who are gay for decades and decades and decades. They don't believe in gay marriage. They don't believe that 2 men should be married. They don't believe 2 women should be married. Now, I'm going to give you a quick story before I go back to the phone calls. And I'm not going to say this person's name, but this person used to be a right-wing talk show host. Sadly, I worked at the station where an imbecile who was the program director hired this person to be a talk show host. That person was eventually fired, a right-wing talentless buffoon, because this person said on the air that they didn't believe that if you're gay, you can raise your child as well as if you are straight. Now, obviously, there were some gay advertisers, and that person here locally lost their job. You have to be a certain type of stupid to believe that sort of nonsense, that somehow if you're gay, you can't raise a child as well as if you are straight. 702-221-7283. I apologize again for the on-air issues. There are people on YouTube that are saying they're struggling to hear me. So we're working on that for you. Hopefully we'll get that fixed. My apologies. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Christian. Christian is next up on PTL. Hey, Christian, what's going on?
Oh, well, hello. Okay, I wasn't expecting to be picked up. Hello, Brian. I'm actually the son of Kim. You talked to her. I believe she was the first call. I would like to say a few things. Sure. I do feel like I am kind of in enemy territory here, as I do lean a little right wing. But I will say I do see it, like I see politics as more of a common sense thing. What we need is more common sense. We need more logic behind decisions instead of opinions behind decisions. And you mentioned cuts to cancer research, and, it brought up something that a friend told me in my head. Due to the government's greed, I feel like there was already knowledge on the cancer research that they're just not sharing because of the greed.
Yeah.
I'm saying this under every politician.
Yep.
Not specifically Republican, every politician.
Sure. Here's the problem. Well, there's a lot of problems. Those that are policymakers are going to have great medical benefits no matter what. So let's keep that in mind. That's number one. And I'm not saying that every politician doesn't care. I certainly think a lot more people on the left care than on the right these days. So that's problem number one. Problem number two, we're talking about the most vulnerable people in society, right? People that are struggling, people that are living paycheck to paycheck, people that are under a certain category. There's a lot of people that are in poverty. These are some of the most vulnerable people. And Donald Trump and his administration are going to be taking away key benefits that can help these people, whether it be, insulin, whether it be any types of medication, keep these people alive. So this is going to be a huge loss for this country if, in fact, this big, beautiful bill, as he calls it, does pass. I hope it doesn't. But let me give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So back in the day, Donald Trump did start capping insulin, but Joe Biden added Plan B and Plan D to the insulin capped at $35, which means millions of more Americans were able to get insulin capped at $35 under Joe Biden. And what did Donald Trump do? One of the first executive decisions that he made, executive orders, was to go back to the days where Plan B and Plan D weren't allowed. Why? So the pharmaceuticals could make more money. Why? Because a lot of people in those pharmaceutical companies have donated a lot of money to Donald Trump, and he has a lot of friends in that industry. That's exactly why. And when he says the price of drugs are going to be going down 90%, that is absolutely a lie. Absolutely a lie. The prices are actually going to be spiking in Europe, and his friends in the pharmaceuticals are going to be making more money. But you'll never hear MAGA Republicans talk about that. It is all farce, and it's all a lie.
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest. I barely heard you. I guess my earbud is kind of bugging out, but I heard bits and pieces. From what I did hear, I somewhat agree. But I just generally, all in all, I don't mean left, I don't mean right. I think we need more common sense.
Well, that's the problem with what we're dealing with right now, is because there's not a lot of...
And I completely agree with that. Yeah. No one's going to go for that. Everyone just wants to stick to their opinion and wants to do what they think is right for themselves and not what they think is right for everyone.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you, Christian. And I agree with you. And sadly, there are not a lot of people that are logical in Washington, D.C. today, certainly not on the far right. Number to call, 702-221-7283. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I stopped going into the YouTube chat for a reason I'm going to give you at the end of the call. But you still know how I feel, that I do not believe that Trump is going to gamble at all in losing the Senate or the House, which is the reason why I think there'll be no elections and they'll just call martial law and end that. Now, you were talking about you just don't understand why people don't get or they vote against their best interests. Mm-hmm. And I don't enter the chat, but I was looking at the chat, and there's a guy in there by the name of Danny. And he actually gave the answer to your question. And no one in the chat really, I think, caught onto it. And all Danny said was, liberal tears are flowing, Trump is your president. And that's the whole point of it, I think, a major point, is that they don't care what happens as long as liberals and Democrats are angry. They don't care what happens to themselves. I'm sure they care about Medicare, Medicaid, but they don't say it. But I think the main reason, or part of the reason, is that they just want to see liberals and Democrats get angry. Now, the reason why I don't go into the chat anymore is because I'm basically tired of dealing with or arguing back and forth with these MAGA morons, because it doesn't get anywhere.
Well, I'm going to give you an example.
You're just arguing with people who just don't hear you.
Well, here's the thing.
No matter what you say, they don't care.
Here's a fundamental difference, one of many, between MAGA Republicans and Democrats today. Most Democrats don't want MAGA Republicans to suffer, right? They want everyone to get the health care that they deserve and live their best life. Most MAGA Republicans...
I couldn't care less. No, I couldn't care less if MAGA Republicans don't get health care.
Right.
Regular Republicans,
I understand.
yes,
I
but not
understand.
MAGA.
I understand that there are some, but I think that
Okay.
most Democrats want everyone to live their best life and be happy. And I think a lot of MAGA Republicans just want to own the libs. And if that means that millions of Americans suffer, they don't have empathy for people, and they just want to own the libs, even if it can damage the country for decades and decades. I think that's the big fundamental difference.
One more thing, Brian.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Yep.
When I was driving home, I took my wife out to a nice lunch yesterday, and not driving home. When we walked out of the restaurant, I walked 2 blocks in front of the house, and a flag in the ground stated, "I love Trump because it makes the people I hate angry," and that says it all.
Pretty stupid.
That flag says it all.
Pretty despicable. I appreciate the call, Mark. Thank you very much. So if you're just joining us, there's a bunch of different topics that we are getting to today that we are discussing. Obviously, the strikes Ukraine put on Russia were executed to perfection. Donald Trump said they didn't have the cards to fight this war. I think that is a lie, and I think what took place over the weekend certainly proves that. We're talking about, again, Medicaid being taken away from, it appears it's going to be taken away from millions of Americans, and Republicans seem to be in denial. They continue to curl themselves into a pretzel when it comes to this big, beautiful bill. They're lying to the American people about it, and I've been talking a little bit about the fact that this is day 2 of Gay Pride Month. What does that mean to you? If you're a Republican, why would you consider or continue to hate on a group of people that might not be like you? I've said it before. I've said it multiple times on this show. I say it again. If you're gay and you call yourself a Republican, you might as well be black and be a member of the Ku Klux Klan. That's really how I feel. They believe all of you are sinners because your sexuality is different from them. These people are despicable, and then they hide behind their religion to excuse their behavior and their bigotry. And I've just had it with these people. I want everyone to be treated the same, regardless of what the color of your skin is, regardless of what your gender is, regardless of what your sexuality is, because that's the way that I was raised. But not with these MAGA Republicans. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, that number, 702-221-SAVE. Why are so many Republicans bigots? Oh, Brian, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, really? I don't? Then why is it that 12 to 13% of the society is black, yet less than 1%? Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Less than 1% of people, less than 1% of people represented within the Republican Party are black. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Eileen. Eileen is next on PTL. Hey, Eileen, what's going on?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
Love your show.
Thank you, Eileen.
Slava Ukraine. And I wonder why Trump hasn't said anything yet. About Ukraine.
I think we know why. Because it would be praising Zelensky. And by the way, they did it with limited innocent people losing their lives intentionally. They didn't want to kill innocent people. Vladimir Putin does the opposite. But he doesn't want to praise Zelensky. He just wants to continue to praise the evil, murderous dictator who started this war in Vladimir Putin. That's why.
Yeah, correct. The reason I called is because have you talked about Palantir yet?
I'm sorry, have I talked about who?
You know about Palantir, Peter Thiel's company?
I have not. No, I have not.
The actual deep state. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I haven't talked about that, but I do know what you're talking about. Yes, ma'am.
That's really scaring me. That's actually, so Trump can make his lists of who to go after.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just to let my producer know, people are saying that the volume just went way down again. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe I don't know if something was touched or it's just moving on its own, the volume on social media. But again, I've just been told the audio got worse. So I don't know if something was touched. If it was, maybe we'll put it back. I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, just letting people know we're working on it. Completely out of my control, so we apologize for that. We'll try to get that fixed for you. I'm sure people are working on it now as we speak, so we'll try to get that fixed for you. Go ahead, my dear.
Yeah, I'm not listening to the TV right now, so I can just listen to you.
Gotcha.
This Palantir thing is really keeping me up at night. It's like, it's gathering all our information. I mean, this is the actual deep state that the MAGA was so worried about, with the Democrats, with George Soros. I mean, and now it's actually coming to fruition through Elon Musk.
They want to blame George Soros for everything. They want to blame Joe Biden and Barack Obama. They want to blame Pete Buttigieg. I mean, this is who these people are. Donald Trump will not take responsibility for anything, and that's what makes him so dangerous. He blames everybody else and never takes responsibility for anything, and that's par for the course. We're going to see that every day for the next 3.5 years, guaranteed.
But I mean, you're not going to hear about this on Fox News.
Oh no!
And Tony Michaels played a clip today of this other CEO, not Peter Thiel, but this other guy. I can't remember his name. And he says the main goal is to kill the enemy. Didn't say who the enemy was, but the main goal here is to kill the enemy. Is why he's creating all these lists.
Yeah, well, again, it doesn't surprise me, my dear. I appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much. Number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the show, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next up on PTL. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Brian. Happy Monday. First thing up, Trump's Truth Social comment about Joe Biden. I'd like to know when we will be invoking the 25th Amendment on that. Let's talk about Joni Ernst here, too, is now, I think, toast. So MAGAs in Iowa, if you have any brain cells left after being, shall we say, brainwashed, or any critical thinking skills at all, I hope you filed her response away with her to her Medicaid town hall meeting, and then she had the gall to go into a cemetery and gave an arrogant, response about stuff that included Jesus and religion, weaponizing religion. Then again, and lastly, Brian, I wanted to let you know that my cortisol levels are probably off the charts. My mental and physical health have been ruined, and Donald Trump hasn't helped me at all. Thank you.
I'm sorry to hear that. You're not alone. There's a lot of people in this country that are certainly far worse off today than they were back in 2016 when Donald Trump first took office. It always are Democrats that have to pick up the pieces. Donald Trump inherited a good economy in 2016, and he inherited a pretty damn good economy just several months ago. So you're not the only person that is struggling mentally. I'm with you on that. We all are. Imagine having to cover it every single day. And we are covering a lot today. As I mentioned earlier, and as I mentioned again, we are covering some good news when it comes to Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine. And we're talking about these strikes that took place where they limited innocent civilians and they targeted military bases. A very, very successful operation that Ukraine has run. And that's a positive and that's a good thing. And I'm happy to hear that. At the same time, there's a lot of things going on in this country right now that are extremely problematic. I mean, I don't even know where to begin, quite frankly. But I think certainly we can start with the fact that people are not getting due process because of tattoos. There are people that are getting deported to one of the most highest maximum security prisons on the planet in El Salvador. But again, as I mentioned before, and I mentioned again, this is par for the course for the Trump administration, and we're only about 3.5 months in. So it's sick, it's sad. We should all be worried. We should all be scared. But if you listen to Fox News, Newsmax, or OAN, and you listen to right-wing echo chamber radio, they would lead you to believe that everything is headed in the right direction. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has some of the worst poll numbers we'd seen in 70 years, his first 100 days in office. All right. Number to call is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, 702-221-7283. Save. All right, let's see. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. What's going on, Dave?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I got a two-faceted question. The first one, we've been talking about people who are being hurt by the Trump economic policies and whatever the big, beautiful bill is supposed to be doing. Those people that are being hurt are the people that are at the margins of society. They're on the brink every day that they show up for work. They're going hand to mouth with their budgets. If they come up short some month, they're screwed, and those are the people that are being psychologically impacted by what is going on with this monstrous, absolutely monstrous Republican agenda. And I just think you're going to see a lot of suicides, a lot more than usual. People who are at the margin, just like during the Great Depression, people were jumping out of windows and what have you. And then, not only that, but they refuse to recognize gay, Pride Month.
Right.
But they want to throw a parade for their
Donald Trump, $25 million.
hero. And I'm just wondering what you think about it. Is he going to be able to piggyback on, like, the 250-year, whatever it is, celebration? Is he going to be able to use that?
So a couple things that I will add. Number one, $25 million it's going to cost taxpayers to appease Donald Trump's ego. That's what you're referring to, this military parade. So you're absolutely right. And, yeah, I think he's going to be able to do it. He's the president of the United States with immunity. So to answer your question, yeah. You still there, sir? Did we lose you?
And our
I'm
democracy.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yep, go ahead, sir. Sorry, we missed what you just said. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wondered what you think he's going to call it.
I don't know what he's going to call it. Maybe a big, beautiful birthday bash.
A big, beautiful parade.
Yeah, probably something along those lines. I appreciate the call, sir. Thank you. Makes me sick, and I know it makes you sick as well. 702-221-7283, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Ardeen is next up on PTL. Hi, Ardeen.
Hi, I'm calling from Colorado Springs, actually.
Thank you.
I'm a senior. I'm 73, going to be 74 in October. I'm really, really, really concerned with the Medicare, Medicaid, what Trump is proposing, what the House is, what they approved.
Yeah.
I'm scared to death. My neighbors, my friends are scared to death. I have a lot. I'm actually not on Medicaid. I don't qualify for it. I make too much money. I'm on strictly Medicare Advantage. I'm concerned with how does he say he's going to lower the prices or make it equitable compared to other countries? What exactly? He's been very evasive on that. What is he actually going to do? What's the mechanics of it?
Well, he's been very evasive on everything, and he makes promises so that he can get elected. And I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of people, a lot of politicians that haven't made false promises, but he's the king of that. I mean, we can go back to 2016 when he said he's going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. I'm going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. You know, he campaigned on no tax on tips, and I'm going to lower inflation and end the war in 24 hours. He doesn't have a plan. And when Vladimir Putin is laughing in his face, he says, hey, Vladdy, cut it out. When President Xi doesn't want to pick up the phone and meet or talk to him, he lies to the American people. He doesn't. That's what makes him so dangerous, because he says that he's going to do things, but he never has a plan when things don't work out. He has no plan to end the war in Ukraine. He has no plan to actually lower inflation. And then he just likes the word tariff, so he decides to tariff all of our allies. He has no real plan other than, in my opinion, to create chaos, to enrich himself and his family and his close tech billionaire friends. He doesn't have a plan to help the American people, and quite frankly, he never did.
It's scary. It's really scary. And what's amazing, I do a lot of volunteer work. I actually work at communities here that deal with seniors. And I go to assisted living a lot. And I work with the people. And what's scary is, and the people don't understand, if they cut out Medicaid or reduce it, they're going to be eliminating assisted living homes because 2/3 of the people are in Medicaid pays for it. It's not self-pay. And assisted living homes, I know as a definite, one here in Colorado Springs that I know of, that I was connected with. I had power of attorney for a friend of mine. She was there. I had to pay for it out of her money. This was a low level one. It was not the top of the line assisted living. She is paying for her palliative care. She is paying $10,000 a month. How's friends and relatives of the seniors being kicked out of the home going to be able to pay to take care of? Because when they close down those homes because of no pay, what's going to happen to all the seniors? Where are they going to go? They're on the street?
I think you're right. That's a really good question. I certainly feel for all of them as well, my dear, and I appreciate your call. This is going to affect all of us, but as I mentioned before and I mention again, the people that are going to be affected the most by Donald Trump's administration over the course of the next 3.5 years are some of the most vulnerable. Elderly, people that are living in homes, okay, those that are living paycheck to paycheck, minorities, people that are in poverty, people that are trying to come into this country from legal ports of entry, those that are undocumented, that have been living here for decades, that are nonviolent criminals. These are the people that are going to be affected by Donald Trump's policy the most. Society's most vulnerable people. That's what makes this so sad. 702-221-7283 if you'd like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. Hello,
hey,
Dave.
Brian. Brian, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, first of all, I want to thank you. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I want to applaud you on your show. It's spot on, at least aligned with the way I think. And, you know, one thing that I haven't heard a lot of people say, and I do this all the time, I email Trump. I let him know exactly how I'm feeling. I call my representatives. We cannot be quiet. We cannot be silent. We must hit back, and we must come with proof and receipts. And additionally, you know, we have to support the oppressed. We got to support the LGBTQ plus community, the non-white people, unions. With the last name that I have, I am not a white Christian, so to speak. And it's just being a product of the 60s and remember how it was like to protest Vietnam, how it was like to protest against racism. What they're doing to the universities is just ridiculous. I equate this administration with 1935 Poland and Nazi Germany.
Yeah, so I've talked about this on the show before. Do I think that Donald Trump wants to kill 7 million Jews? No, I do not. Do I believe that this is an evil regime? Do I believe that this is an oligarchy? Yes. Do I believe that Donald Trump is a wannabe evil dictator? Yes. Do I think he wants to massacre people? No. But I do believe he doesn't care if people lose their lives if it fits his agenda. I do believe that. I do believe that he wants to be a dictator and he wants to be bowed down to like a Kim Jong-un. I certainly believe that. If you don't believe me, just look at Mar-a-Lago. Every room he goes into, he wants a standing ovation. So I certainly I can understand those sort of comparisons.
Yep.
You know, listen, I vote differently than a lot of people. And I was having a conversation with a lovely lady yesterday about this that I was hanging out with. And I said, you know, I start with the human being and then I go to policy. I can disagree with someone on policy 99% of the time, right? I disagree with Liz Cheney. I can't stand the way she votes and her policy, but I would still vote for her over Donald Trump. I would vote for her over any MAGA Republican because I know she has a moral compass and she has some decency, right? I would say the same about a Mitt Romney, somebody along those lines. I don't agree with the way they vote, but I do believe Mitt Romney is a decent human being. And I start with, are you a decent human being? Yeah, Joe Biden made a lot of mistakes, but I do believe Joe Biden is a decent human being. He has some moral clarity and character. I feel the same way about Barack Obama. I felt the same way about Laura Bush. I think she had class. I certainly felt the same way about John McCain. You know, there are people that I can disagree with on policy, but I can still say that is a decent human being, and I'm okay that I disagree with them on a bunch of different policies so long as I know that they're not horrible people and they care about fellow man and fellow women, and they're not womanizers, and they're not adjudicated rapists, and they're not criminals, and they're not 34-count felons, right? And they don't insult women on looks. They don't insult Gold Star families. They don't insult Mexicans that cross the border. They're rapists and they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. You know, when you're a bad human being, you're probably going to be a chaotic president. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, of course. And don't forget, everything with Trump is in 2 weeks.
Yeah, everything's in 2 weeks. How about that? How about that replacement plan for Obamacare? Yeah, that wasn't that. What was that? Like 7 years ago?
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll get that one for you in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Well, it was great talking with you, Brian.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you and the rest of your family over there.
Oh, that's nice.
Have a great rest of your week.
That's nice of you. Thank you, sir. You as well. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Jack. Jack is next up on PTL. Hey, Jack, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, what's going on?
Hey.
I wanted to talk about the recent layoffs out here in Allentown. But first, I want to point out the obvious. This isn't Brian. Brian was abducted at the Pride Parade. And that's a Brian robot, and you know it, and Nunchuck knows it. I mean, this is what the president of the United States is saying. Like, it's insanity. Like, I don't know why people aren't calling for the 25th Amendment on that. He's tweeting 3 o'clock in the morning that Biden's a robot.
Yeah, I mean, are we living in the Twilight Zone? Isn't it incredible that
it feels like it?
CNN and MSNBC, they're not even really covering this story. The guy tweeted out that Joe Biden was executed back in 2020. But if you go on social media and you say 8647, you're going to get a knock on the door from the FBI. But yet Donald Trump can tweet out nutty conspiracy theories that Joe Biden was somehow executed and then cloned, and somehow he thinks that's funny.
It's an exercise in humanity of insanity. But I did want to, on a serious note, Donald Trump was just here in Pennsylvania, did a rally in Allentown, and 2 days later, you got 350, they're all MAGA supporters, 350 Mack truck workers, all laid off, all without jobs now. You guarantee every one of them was at the Trump rally 2 days prior. Gosh, and 2 days later, they don't have jobs. Like, it's just, I don't and they're picketing, they're standing outside like it's the company.
But that's why these people are so stupid. They could lose their jobs, they could lose their health care, and they'll still buy the Trump Bibles and support this guy. They're idiots. These people are idiots.
They're standing out there with Trump hats on, like he's going to come and save them. 2 days prior, they're at his rally. Like, they'll justify anything. It's just, and they interviewed one lady, and she's saying, well, if I lose my job, that's okay, because in the future, my daughter won't lose her job. Like, this is their thinking on it. Like, they don't live for now.
Listen,
like they're still looking out the window for the $5,000 check coming from Doge.
I cannot sugarcoat this, and I'm not trying to gaslight when I say that it is going to be, even if a Democrat wins office in 2028 as president, it's going to take decades to recover from the damage that Donald Trump is doing. It's not like a Democrat can just take over, or they have a great midterm elections and everything's going to be just fine. It literally is going to take decades to recover from the damage that Donald Trump is doing, period. And I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. You can't just flip a switch in 2028. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, that a Josh Shapiro wins, or I don't even know if he's going to run, but I'm just using that, or a Cory Booker or whoever. They can't just, flick a switch. It took Barack Obama 8 years to take over and clean up the mess that George W. Bush left behind. Look at what Joe Biden was able to do in 4 years, just from an economic standpoint. The damage that this guy is doing to this country every single day is unprecedented. It's unprecedented, and it's going to take decades to recover from it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, keep up the fight, Brian. You're fighting a good fight, and that's all we can do, man.
Thank you, Jack.
I think the midterms are going to look great.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, Jack, and I appreciate the call. Thank you. 702-221-7283. Again, the number to call, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Shelley. Shelley is next up on PTL. Hey, Shelley, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I used to work in a pharmacy as a pharmacy tech and in inventory, and we serviced nursing homes. Now, if Medicaid is cut, nursing homes will cease to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Rural hospitals will cease to exist. And they don't realize that. MAGA does not realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And also I want to say, happy Pride Month. I am with you guys. I stand with you. And people need, to think about these teenagers that have not come out yet. They are so susceptible to suicide. They need to think about that.
That's true. That's
and
really...
honey, I'll let you go. I know you got a lot of calls.
Thank you, Shelley. I appreciate you.
Thank you, honey.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. So, I feel like somebody like a Candace Owens is so ignorant in that she makes the claim, why are there so many gay people in society now? Why are there so many trans people in society now? And the point that I always try to make is this: there are less people that are bigoted in nature now, and it's more socially acceptable now than it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but we're not at the point where we need to be yet. And on this being day 2 of Gay Pride Month, anybody who's against Gay Pride Month, it's either one of two things or maybe both. Either you're extremely ignorant and you don't understand what someone being gay in this country and the discrimination that they have to go through, or you're just a hateful person, or maybe both. This is the MAGA Republican Party. Find me a MAGA Republican that treats somebody who is gay the same way as someone who is straight. Find me a MAGA Republican that treats somebody who is black the same as somebody who is white. You'd be very hard-pressed to find them because they are bad people. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I said it. If you are right now a MAGA Republican who still supports Donald Trump and you're through and through 100% on board with all of Donald Trump's policies, then you are a bad person. You're bad for the country, you're bad for humanity, you're bad for society, and they hope they deport you to Gaza or an El Salvador prison, quite frankly. I truly believe that. I really believe that wholeheartedly. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Who do we got next here? Let's go to Pat. Pat is next on PTL. What's up, Pat?
Hey, Brian. Pat out here in Maryland.
Good to talk to you, Pat. What's on your mind today?
Just wondering, how did we get so much hate in this country? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Where people are losing they don't even care about anything except for, and the president is supposed to be for all people. How is he going to be a president for all people when he is spewing the hate?
Well, we all know he's not. He's only a president for white elitists. We know that. We know that.
Yeah,
that's
I'm talking about the seat. The
Right.
seat of the president is supposed to be for all people.
Donald Trump doesn't even like his own supporters. I mean, you go to Mar-a-Lago, there are a bunch of white, rich billionaires. He doesn't even like. He doesn't
And you
even
know
like
what
them.
else? I'm tired of hearing. Oh, the Democrats are not doing enough. The Democrats are not doing enough. They gave him full immunity. What can the Democrats do? They can't really do anything
There's only so much that they can do when you don't have the House, you don't have the
without
Senate.
getting locked up.
Right, but I will say this: I think we need more Jasmine Crockett's out there. We need more people with a
Yeah.
fire underneath them. You know what I mean? So I think we need more
I
people.
agree.
You know, Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer are just not going to get the job done. I'm sorry, they're just not.
I agree.
And we don't need.
I agree, but
we don't need people like Cory Booker voting in Jared Kushner's dad either. I'm very disappointed in him. He can say he had his reasons, but to me, there is no excuse for it. It's unacceptable.
right at this time, he cannot. We could not afford that. We could not afford that from Cory Booker.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. 100%.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I
All
listen
right.
to you every day.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Let's go to David. David is next up on PTL. What's up, David?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was interested in the. Someone described to me earlier today that a good part of what Doge's cuts were to basically ruin lawsuits against Elon Musk, and that all of the Doge agents or all of the agencies that were cut by Doge were holding evidence against him, or putting together lawsuits against him. And so the idea, when you start looking at Project 2025, they say like the EPA. If Project 2025 are a pack of polluters and the EPA holds the evidence of that pollution, then by doing a budget cut against the EPA, destroying its library, it destroys the evidence against polluters.
Yeah.
By doing even you had an earlier caller talking about the nursing homes at risk by cutting apart Medicare. Well, if Medicare is a bunch of people who have been subjected to pollution or subjected to different types of workforce injuries, then if you are familiar with how lawsuits work, if a corporation is the cause of your injury and you die, then the settlement is usually 10% of what you should get. Your family will only get 10% of the value of your damage.
Well, David, I'll even get
And
it.
so-
I'll even make it even more simplified for you, my friend, and I appreciate your call. Simply put, Elon Musk hasn't found any fraud or waste within his own companies. They haven't arrested one person. In this country, fraud is a crime. Elon Musk donated $300 to $400 million to Donald Trump's campaign, and he made that back tenfold. Now he is stepping aside. I told you guys that this was going to happen. I told you that Elon Musk wouldn't last 6 months. I would predict the next person to go could possibly be a Marco Rubio, and maybe he'll blame Marco Rubio for the war, the endless war, it appears, in Ukraine. But this is not going to get any better. And you're absolutely right. Elon Musk was in it for himself, just why Donald Trump has been in it for himself this whole time. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to CJ. CJ next on PTL. Hello, CJ. Hi, CJ. Are you there? Did we lose CJ? All right. CJ?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I can barely hear you. So
go ahead,
I
sir.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yep.
I just read the news about the actor Jonathan Joss. Yep. Hold on. Okay, I don't even know if I'm on the air.
You are. You are. Go ahead.
Okay. The actor Jonathan Joss, who was on King of the Hill as the Jonathan Redcorn, the Native American, he was murdered today. Do you know why he was murdered?
Why was he murdered?
Read it on his Facebook. Go find the post by his surviving spouse. It is absolutely infuriating. It's a hate crime.
Well, tell us what
Somebody
happened.
just couldn't stand that two men were married.
Oh, that's horrible. That's absolutely terrible.
First they killed their family dog, and while they were mourning that, tried to kill his husband, and Jonathan leapt and pushed him aside to save his life.
That's horrible. I am
read the post. Read it out loud on the air.
I will certainly read it, and I will look into it. But, you know, we've had, unfortunately, in our history, we've had some horrible hate crimes that have taken place. And this is obviously another one. And I look at, obviously, what took place in Colorado over the weekend is despicable. Donald Trump's America. You see, if this stuff happened under Joe Biden, that's, you know, they would say it's Joe Biden's America. But if it happens under Donald Trump, they can blame Joe Biden for it. That's what the Trump administration does. Anything negative, anything terrible, any type of hate crime, if an illegal immigrant does something terrible under the Biden administration, they'll talk about it. If an illegal immigrant does something terrible under the Trump administration, it's Joe Biden's fault. This is par for the course. It is despicable. It is disgusting, and I'm tired of it. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy is next up on PTL. Hey, Kathy, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I'm just responding to the caller about 2 calls back. She wanted to figure out why everything is happening the way it is, the hatred that we have. Go back to when President Obama became president, and the night of his inauguration when Mitch McConnell said that we were going to make him a one-term president. This is all due to racism, and because part of the country did not want to have an African American person as a leader of the most powerful nation in the world. And I feel that Michael Steele, who at the time for the midterms, who was the first African American who ever held the the RNC chair, he exploited that with the Tea Party.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, the Tea Party has morphed into the MAGA Party, and then you have Trump coming along, who was, by the way, a Democrat at that beforehand, because he gave to Kamala Harris's campaign when she was Attorney General. He gave to Hillary Clinton's campaign when she was running for president against Barack Obama.
Right.
He saw an opportunity to become an outsider, a spoiler, as you will, and he ratcheted up that hatred that they had for anyone, Barack Obama, or anything that he represents. And then you couple that with the what's it called? The census report that says that everyone at the end of the decade or at the end of the century, we may see majority, or whatever the term is, and that just ratcheted up, and then it just became a perfect storm. And we have to understand where these origins came from. Racism was always an issue with this country, is that it just takes a couple of instances, Barack Obama's presidency, for one, that really kick-started, and Trump gave people who felt the way he did the okay to say it's okay to be racist.
Well, yeah, he made people he made people feel more comfortable in their racism and bigotry. These people were always out there, make no mistake about it, but they were quiet about it. They kept it to themselves, or they left it in their home. But now publicly, people are acting out on their racism and hatred, and quite frankly, it's sickening where we're at as a country. It's sickening where we're at right now.
And I blame Michael Steele, and he has still not atoned for his actions during the 2010 midterms, where he was letting the base use horrible racism epithets and effigies against President Obama and did nothing and said nothing. And now he's turning around and saying, oh, Trump is this, Trump is ruining our country. Honey, you got to atone for what you did. You got to atone for what you said. You got to apologize to people that you helped stoke this racism. And as a black man, it's worse.
I agree. Thank you so much for your phone call. I echo everything you just said. I do want to go to the YouTube Super Chat, by the way, because this has been a day of technical difficulties, and we apologize for that. I know there are people that are working on it right now as we speak to try to fix it for tomorrow. But I do want to go to the YouTube Super Chat because, of course, we have a lot of very generous people out there that support what we do, PTL Nation, and certainly we appreciate all of you for it. Alexa says, I'm on Medicaid and I'm on disability food stamps and other government funding. I don't know how I'm supposed to make it. Alexa, there are millions of people in this country like you that are extremely worried. I'm with you, and we're going to try to get through this together. I hear you. Brian says, here in Georgia, John Ossoff opponent, Buddy Carter's airing trans athletes in women's sports. There are 0 trans athletes in high school sports. Shaking my head. Brian, I was asked about that on the Pierce Morgan show, and I said this isn't a top 5 or a top 10 issue. Agree with you 150%. All right, who are we going to do next here? Let's go to Shelly. Shelly says, I was in the store, and this lady had 3 items, didn't have enough money, so I paid for it. I didn't ask if she was MAGA. Shelley, that's really nice of you, and I'm not surprised because you seem like a very nice person. Tina says 1 million died on Russia's side, 40,000 on the Ukrainian side. This morning, a retired general said the side that wins is the one who adapts that. I agree with you. No money. I almost said mo money. No money. Trump administration doing nothing for middle America, only enriching him and his wealthy MAGA buddies. He hates his base. What has he done to help Americans? Well, nothing except damage this country. No money. I agree with you 150%. Obviously, it's sick. It's absolutely disgusting. Tracy, just helping with the gift goal. Thank you, Tracy. That's very sweet of you. I did hear that the YouTube Super Chat wasn't working for a little bit, so I'm thinking that there is a possibility. I don't know if this is true or not. There might be a possibility that there might be something going on with YouTube today because I've been told on the other platforms the audio is fine, so I don't know. I don't know that, so we're looking into that. Sometimes, we get a lot of listeners, of course, on our YouTube page with 115,000 subscribers, so sometimes there are audio issues sometimes on one platform. I know we sound good on the radio. We're good on other platforms, but whatever reason, the audio is not very good today on YouTube, so we're going to try to fix that for you so we don't have those same issues tomorrow. Trust me, there are people working on it. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next on PTL. Hey, Terry, what's going on?
Oh, hello. I love the show.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Sure.
I want to know why the media has not picked up on the issue of, in middle May, the Trump administration had allowed 17 family members of the cartel, and I believe it's the Chapo family cartel, into the United States through Tijuana. The only reason why I picked up on it was because I did hear it on Mexican news stations, Univision and the other one. But I have not heard anything on the American, on like CNN or any other channels. Why do you not say anything about that?
Well, I'm gonna make an analogy for you. Okay, you remember. We didn't hear for a very long time after 9/11 that the George W. Bush and his administration sent the Osama bin Laden family on a plane leaving the United States of America. We didn't hear that for years later. I found out about it. So it wouldn't shock me, these types of shenanigans, and we certainly have to investigate all of them. We appreciate your phone call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Chuck. Hey, Chuck, what's going on?
Hey, I think we need to stop making this about Democrats and Republicans. Start making it about the enemies from within and we the people.
So who's the enemy within? Who do you think that is?
Who do you think? Everybody on that side. Everybody.
On that side,
Trump,
you meaning? Yeah.
Trump, his cabinet,
Yeah.
everybody that voted for him.
Okay, so I agree with you. But when we say let's not make it about Republican and Democrat, it's hard for me not to when you look at some of these bills that are hopefully not passed. But when you look at what Republicans are doing to damage this country because Donald Trump has a hijacking over the Republican Party, so it's hard for me not to blame Republicans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And why can't we have more protests? And why have there never been? I'm not asking you directly, but why have we never protested Fox News? Because they need to be taken out.
Well, listen, I think Fox News and right-wing propaganda news machine, or whatever you'd like to call it, very dangerous for the country. The problem is we do have freedom of press. But I also agree that there's a lot of people in this country, some of whom are not bad people. They're ill-informed, but they've been brainwashed from Fox Noise and other media entities like that. So do I think it's dangerous for the country? Absolutely. What can be done in it? Nothing. We have freedom of press. We have freedom of speech. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people in this country that are not smart enough to separate fact from fiction.
Yeah, that's true. But I can't believe this shit. I can't believe it. It's unfathomable.
If you told me that 10 years ago we would have an adjudicated rapist, 34-count felon as the president of the United States, I wouldn't have believed you. I probably would have laughed in your face.
Yeah, right, true that. But I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm scared to death, Brian.
Well, there's a lot of us that are. You have a right to be scared. I'm scared as well. We all are. But we're all going to do our best to try to get through this together. Got to make sure that the Democrats have a better midterm election in 2026. Got to make sure that another MAGA Republican doesn't get back into the White House. And that's all we can do at this point. And as the country disintegrates, our rule of law means nothing anymore. Our Constitution means nothing. As this continues to happen day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, we can remind some of our Republican friends who voted for Donald Trump that it's their fault, my friend. I appreciate the phone call, and I appreciate you calling in. So quick programming note for you. Tomorrow on the show, he is a world-renowned economist. You've seen him all over the networks. He did this show a few weeks ago. We're getting him back tomorrow. His name is Justin Wolfers. Professor Justin Wolfers is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. All the claims that the economy is headed in the right direction. We'll see what Justin has to say about that. From Midas Touch, Ron Filipkowski is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow as well. So 2 great guests tomorrow. I am certainly looking forward to that. And, on day 2 of Gay Pride Month, I ask all of you, treat everybody with respect. Doesn't matter what your sexuality is. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, what your gender is. I don't care. Treat everybody with respect and treat them for what their character is, not for what they look like or what their sexuality is. Can we all do that? Can you all help me with that today? Maybe that can be a Gay Pride Month resolution. I don't know. And across the board for everybody. Can we all do that? Let's all take care of each other, regardless of what you look like. And I'm going to share a story with you tomorrow on the air that is very near and dear to my heart with some people that I was hanging out with last night. And we're going to talk about that. We don't have time to do it today. But as I mentioned again, Midas Touch's very own Ron Filipkowski going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. World-renowned economist Justin Wolfers is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. We're going to have a good time tomorrow. Everybody stay safe out there. I appreciate all you guys in the YouTube Super Chat and, of course, PushingTheLimits.live. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow, everybody.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue